Chapter 4 Trials Amid Triumphs. In July 1966, Aurora marked a corporate milestone when it joined the New York Stock Exchange. Abe Shikes, Joe Giammarino, and John Cuomo went on the trading floor with exchange president Keith Funston to have a photograph taken holding a small model motoring layout. No one enjoyed Aurora's success more than Shikes. He was an extrovert who loved to talk about his business. He once met General Motors chairman Alfred P. Sloan in a Manhattan restaurant and announced, "Last year my firm made more cars than GM." Then he pulled out a tiny T-Jet that he always carried in his pocket and proudly showed it to Sloan. The best evidence of Aurora's slot car success was its new 3-story, 148,000 square foot facility devoted to HO model motoring manufacturing. It was around the corner from the old plant at 44 Cherry Valley Road. Although operations in the plant were year-round, around the clock there was a predictable cycle to production. In late December, the annual catalog was published, depicting products Aurora intended to market in the upcoming year. Prototypes would be shown to distributors and retailers at the HIAA show in Chicago in late January, and at a toy fair in New York in February. Orders would start to come in and tooling would be made. Customized sets in the factory environment. As model motoring became the standard in the industry, private label sets became an increasingly profitable form of business for Aurora. Specially packaged model motoring sets were ordered annually in April by chain store buyers. Sears, Montgomery Ward, and J.C. Penney were the biggest customers. But Aurora built sets for nearly 50 different retailers. Concepting the sets involved members of sales, R&D, and production managers. Everyone put pencil to paper and designed sets that packed as much value as possible within a price range set by stores. Summer and early fall brought a flurry of activity to West Hempstead. Boxes from packaging suppliers came in one door, were placed on the first of 6 assembly line conveyor belts, and were progressively filled with track, power packs, controllers, accessories, and cars. When they reached the other end of the plant, they were boxed in cartons and placed on delivery trucks. Quality control kept watch over cars as they came off the line. Each model motoring car had to make a short run on a section of electrified track. Those that couldn't or ran too slowly were sent back for rework. Cars with average performance went into sets, and those that performed above average were individually boxed and distributed to hobby shops. The idea was to place the hottest cars into the hobby shops where slot car enthusiasts would see them, buy them, and race them, enhancing Aurora's image as the off-shelf speed leader. Shipping was full tilt from August to December. New York retailers' trucks were still backing up to the loading dock on December 24th. January to March was another surge period, restocking the rest of the country. Then HIAA and Toy Fair, and the whole process would begin again. It was a cycle that rang cash registers across the country and filled Aurora's accounts. What to do with the Grand National? By 1966, the novelty had worn off the Ford Aurora Grand National, and Aurora had to work hard to get hobby shops to participate. Aurora pledged merchandise prizes to the 3 shops showing the most enterprise in promoting the program, even if their stores didn't produce a state winner. Stores also received special metallic-plated Ford Thunderbirds and XL 500s, 1383 and 1386, that were premiums for taking part. The 5th Grand National began in the fall as Ford unveiled its new 1967 models. Aurora was given advanced drawings of the 1967 Thunderbird and XL 500 to develop slot cars. Symbolic of the Grand National's decline was the fact that the final was televised only on local New York kids show Wonderama. The winner, 14-year-old Rick Hanna of Galesburg, Illinois. Silverstein's greatest Grand National disappointment was ABC's repeated refusal to cover the annual championships on Wide World of Sports, as the network repeatedly told him they did not consider slot car racing a real sport. You can't fool kids. Cigar box. When 1967 arrived, the mature model motoring line had a new challenge to face: the explosive debut of Mattel Hot Wheels. Miniature die-casts had been around since the Tootsie Toys of the 1920s, and Matchbox had become world leader in the 1950s. But Hot Wheels and their truly innovative frictionless axles changed the die-cast game forever, and slot cars began to feel the heat. Never timid to join a fight, Aurora jumped in head first. Anson Isaacson, recently hired away from Ideal Toys to advise Aurora's new games and toys division, believed Aurora could become a leader in die-cast. Isaacson, Silverstein, and Schwarzschild rented a hotel room away from the bustle of West Hempstead and brainstormed. When they emerged from their seclusion, they had come up with cigar box cars, autos individually packaged in miniature boxes with flip-top lids resembling tiny cigar boxes, clearly a derivative of Matchbox's enduring packaging theme. Aurora had one distinct advantage. It could market dozens of cars immediately because of their existing slot car tooling. Competitors couldn't develop and produce variety and volume like Aurora. Create a die-cast chassis, install Thunderjet wheels and tires, and combine it with existing Thunderjet bodies. Cigar box. Aurora delivered its first 26 of a planned 72 cars in January. Aurora invested a good deal of money to tool Cigar Box. 2 lines capable of 30,000 cars daily were established. The only problem? A total and complete lack of demand. After the R-Bug machine spewed out 2 weeks' worth of bodies, Cigar Box manufacture ceased. As Brand observed, kids weren't fooled. Aurora's diecasts were simply revamped slot bodies without the glamour of Hot Wheels or cute details of Matchbox. Only 2 runs of Cigar Box cars were ever produced. Speedline, low-rent lemonade from expensive lemons. Faced with this disaster, Aurora changed course. Isaacson announced a new line that would rise from the ashes of Cigar Box. Speedline Cars and Track. This time, Aurora took the easy route and copied Mattel. In creating Speedline, Aurora retained the die-cast Cigar Box chassis. Brand added a new axle and hard plastic wheels to roll on Aurora's Hot Wheels derivative orange strip track. Also announced were several jumps, loops, and other track accessories. Speedline sold very well in 1969. Mattel couldn't keep pace with demand, but as Bill Silverstein traveled the country in 1970, he discovered that youngsters wanted Hot Wheels, not Speedline. Despite his warnings, Aurora continued to manufacture Speedlines and store them in warehouses. It would take years to sell off all the inventory. Aurora never completely abandoned Speedline. Production resumed at Aurora's Singapore plant. A second edition of Speedline cars, a new yellow and orange blister cards, came out in 1973, and a third edition called Super Speedsters was released in 1975. They were so cheap that retailers had to mark them down decisively to move them. Once again, straying from its core product line, HO model motoring had proven disastrous for Aurora, and to the detriment of the West Hempstead manufacturer, the straying had only begun. Changes in the wind. The failed venture into diecast was part of a larger corporate agenda. Aurora, by the late 1960s, had adopted a corporate strategy to move into the mainstream of toys and games, a treacherous land where the profit margin, potential, and risk was much greater. Derek Brand played a part in setting these changes into motion. Already, he had drastically altered the course of Aurora Plastics Corporation when he developed Aurora Slot Cars. Change came again, this time in 1966, when Brand developed a new game in his model motoring lab. Because of his heritage, Derek Brand was fond of the Old English pub game Skittles. In it, players knocked down wooden pins on a small platform by swinging a ball tethered to a pole anchored in the game base. Brand created a prototype and showed it first to Joe Giammarino, then to Abe Shikes and Bill Silverstein. The concept became Skittle Bowl, a fun, hands-on diversion that would become the best-selling game of 1969 and 1970. Ever wary of opportunity, Shikes believed that Skittle Bowl represented Aurora's big break to legitimately expand into toys. Giammarino, on the other hand, thought Skittle Bowl was a 1-in-a-million lucky hit. As difficult as it is to believe today, the ensuing disagreement over Skittle Bowl and its ultimate importance in Aurora's future became so profound that the original partnership, Shikes, Cuomo, and Giammarino, would break up. Long simmering tensions among Aurora's top men had finally boiled over.